Welcome back to the Trading Alchemist. It is July 1st, 2026. It's Wednesday, everyone. It's about 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, there is a ton to go over today. So last we left off in the video, I was talking about a specific area that I was looking for it to hit, and it hit that. But before we start going over the charts, one thing that I want to talk about is exactly what's happening right now. So one thing that I do is not only do I surround myself with these charts and really study the candles and what's going on, but I also do a lot more other research too. I have a lot of information that's coming through that I kind of sort, and I check it against the charts to see exactly what's going on. For example, I look at biased news, I look at unbiased news. I come up with an idea myself as to what's really going on, but also I correlate it to the market, like what is actually happening in the market, and is it affecting it? Like, if somebody tweets something and all of a sudden there's a huge green line that goes up on every single chart possible, I can honestly say that probably that tweet was the catalyst to it moving, and what was the intention of all of that stuff. So I've done a lot of research. I really pay attention to the charts as much as I can. But also, one thing that I noticed last year was in the bear market, there was suddenly some things that shifted in not only just social media, but, altogether. There were some people that just dipped out and they were like, peace out, I'm out. I'm not going to be around. We're going into a bear market and I'm gone. And I took that as like, okay, really, are we really in a bear market that these people are kind of disappearing? And I thought to myself then, okay, let me kind of like pin this. Let me pin this person. Let me pin this event. Let me pin all of this stuff. And then I started to see that there was more things that were happening, right? And it all kind of correlated with each other. So I kind of like, I mentally boxed it all up and I put it on the side. Well, in this past week, there was a lot that happened. There are people that are now appearing that weren't there before, that were here during a bull run of last year that made millions of dollars. There are things that are shifting in the market completely, and also the charts that I've been showing about how long the bear market is versus the bull market and everything like that. We are getting close to that point. If you looked at any one of the videos, I was talking about August, September, October, mostly September that I've mentioned. And we're getting close to that. And that might be really the shift during history, that crypto might actually go into a bull market, right? So we have to wait for that to play out. But in the meantime, what I do know is history does repeat itself. The charts repeat itself all the time because there are algorithms inside of the chart. Now, there are tickers that I've shown over time in all of my videos, and I don't know if you've been picking it up or not, but I don't give you straight numbers and say I'm shorting this number, or we're gonna go up and we're gonna kind of go into this spot and this is whatever. Instead, what I do is I create zones and I trade those zones. I trade those zones as if this is my risk area, and I don't really pay attention to the numbers. I barely pay attention to the numbers. I say them as a marker for you guys, but really I could care less what number we're at, because the charts really show you support and resistance. So in this channel, I've shown you things like oil, for example, and I've gone over oil from when it spiked really high up to saying where resistance would be, and not financial advice at all. Like, I'm not trying to get you guys to buy or do anything like that, but I want you to notice that all of the information that I've given so far has been pretty on point. If you've gone and looked at oil, what I said, and what happened, you'll see that resistance was resistance. If you would have shorted in that area for oil, you'd be in a good spot. The same thing happened with AMC. I bought the bottom. I tried to explain that I bought the bottom where you don't want to buy, and I've given you my plan all during it, and it's played out just like so. And so on. I mean, I've done that. Now, there is something that I'm going to say. If we are shifting in the market right now, there are a lot of opportunities that look really, really good. And while it would be great to say that I bought the bottom, it's only great for you to say that as a shrine. But if you say I bought this zone, on the other hand, then it gives you more of an opportunity to actually make a gain, right? So you make a plan for that. So we are now at the bottom of the range on BTC, and I saw a significant bounce last night. And after it hit the zone I was looking for, I longed. And now I'm feeling like, because of everything that I've seen this past week, the shift that's going on, the fact that we're getting closer to that the end of the bear market according to history, it's starting to feel like it's time to really take action, right? Do what you will, take a look at the charts that you're doing, but I bought in last night. I'm longing now, so I'm starting to feel my bias shift a little bit, and I'm going to be careful as to what I'm looking at. But right now, I think we're in a really, really good spot. The other thing I want you to notate before I get into these charts is any of the signals that I've given you so far are not right now. Like 2 days from now, whatever I told you is still valid, and you can check yourself. If I got into a short, then look at the zone that I'm in. And if it goes, in the opposite direction on my short, just understand I go underwater. I do, but I play the zone, so I DCA back in. And if you find that, hey man, I want to try this because it makes sense, then know that I didn't give you something ever that says buy now, sell now. All my plans take days to trade, and truthfully, I'm usually in a trade for days to weeks, right? And then I have day trading scalps or swings or whatever the case is. So anyway, all right, guys, let's go into the charts and let's see what's going on. All right, so like always, let's jump into where we left off. We left off over here last time in the last video that we had. And before I zoom in closer, I want you to see exactly why things are where they are. First of all, this green zone here is actually encompassing all of these, especially this right over here. Notice where they bounced off of. That is the top right there. And where the bottom of the box is these candles in particular. Now, there are other candles that are here. For example, this one right here. You see how it came down a little bit, right? See how this came down to almost the middle? I accept the fact that they're inside of the zone, but I don't think that they are, they're the top of the zone. So it's these right over here, these candles right over here that bounced off of them, bounced off, and then right over here. This, to me, is the top of that little green box that we have there, right? And because of these two right here line up, that works for me. The other thing is this green box actually covers the top of these candles right over here. Now, most of these are all wicks, so take note of that, right? Most of these are changing directions, if anything. There are a few that are not. So that's where I came up with that. The second is this red box right up here. This red box is where it is because of these tops right over here. Okay, now mind you, this is not the top of that, but this is right there. In fact, I think this is off just a little bit. So let me nudge that up. Sometimes when I go back to my chart, I don't know, it just gets a little funny sometimes. I don't know. Let me see here. Let me just pull that up right there. There we go. So we cover that. Let me click away from there. There we go. Okay. So that's that. And also where the bottom is, you could see exactly, look, there's a top right over here, and notice that it struggled right over here. So, and there's a bounce right over here. So this is actually where the bottom of this stretches. So this is the, I guess the height, how I got the height of this box, right? And now, because this was an established zone over here in the past, we came back into this zone, so we are back into this established area right over here. So all of this stuff is relevant to what's going on over here. So what I was saying in the last video was I was looking for it to hit this green somewhere along the line. Now, I do have a target that's way below, and again, I don't know when it's going to hit, but I do believe it's going to hit. Sometime, some way, it's going to happen. I don't know what's going to be the catalyst that actually pushes it down there, but I feel that it's programmed in to reach that. In the meantime, we are now at this bounce zone right over here. So this being the bounce zone, let's take a look now and look a little bit closer. I mean, it doesn't get any sillier than this. And this is crazy. So notice that we broke this. If this was a range right over here, you see this is a range, like I'm going to pull these candles. I'm going to make it match this right over here. So this is the range that we were in, right? And the reason why is because these points are touching. This is over here, and we've got this right over here. And on the top here, this is the order block that it hit. So therefore, that's the top of the range. So this is the range right here. We broke through it, but instead of just taking out this candle, what it did was it almost hit. It started to kind of shift direction, and it was just being really silly. And then yesterday, we took a significant out of nowhere in the middle of the night. It reached down and it touched it. So even though there are, you know, stretches of candles that stretch down there, the zones that I have are meant to be touched. So I was waiting for it to get touched the whole time. And yeah, I want to say, like, you know, when we got over here, I started thinking to myself, is my zone too low? I mean, like, why would it near miss it? Like, why wouldn't it just touch it? And it did. And look at that. I mean, I didn't move this green line, this green thing at all. Like, it is where it was before. It hit it and bounced. And yeah, and it took a significant bounce, which I think is significant. I mean, not a 10% bounce, but enough for it to say, like, okay, wait a second. Let's go take a look at this range one more time, right? Because a characteristic of a range is that there is manipulation that happens. So what I'm going to do is I am going to shift, goodness, I shift this line a little bit. Get rid of this here. I'm going to take these guys because they're touching, and I'm going to bring it over to here. Okay, again, it's kind of this green line that's here, and I'm going to bring this up on the top here to where it touches, just like so. All right, and here's what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. If we come back over and we grab here and we touch one more time and start to work our way up, we're heading back up to Victoire. That's where I think we're going, because we now created manipulation in a range. And usually there are two forms of manipulation. It doesn't matter if it's both sides, either side, whatever the case is, but usually in a range, it goes from the low to the high, to the low to the high, to manipulation, to the high, to the low, and so forth. There usually is a manipulated part in here. And I would consider this manipulation just because of how this kind of worked out, you know, like it looked like it was going to shift up and it didn't, right? So if this candle comes above here, then I think we can play this range once again, this being the top of the range, this being the bottom of the range to where we are. But looking at the bigger picture, of course, I cannot ignore the fact that, you know, some of these candles are floated at the bottom, right? So it doesn't have to be precise. This could bounce up here and then come right back down over here. So while I am shifting my idea to bullish or whatever, like, think about it like my engine is starting to turn. I don't turn full on, like, let's go long everything, and you know, there's absolutely no way we can go down at this point. Don't work that way. None of the charts actually go in straight lines, and if they do, they're going to have a straight line coming right back down too. That's just not a healthy move. So anytime there's a move, of course it's going to do something like this. It's going to do something like this, you know? But the bias is, do I buy spot now? I have, right? And, do I try to build along in the zone? So what I am looking to do at this point is I am looking to, I'd love to build along in this section right over here. That's what I'd love to do, because here is the manipulation that I was talking about. Maybe you can't see that because my screen is over, my head is over my screen. Hold on, let me move this back up, like so. Is that good? Yep, that's good. So you see, this is the manipulation part, and there is an order block right over here. This is a wick, and if you've been paying attention to my videos, wicks are essential to me. They are areas that they will come back and fill in. So I would really like it to see it come back over here. But as of right now, it feels to me that, you know, if we do get above here, you know, it's range play again. And there's no reason why, if it comes up to the top, it still can't come back down here. Don't put any kind of, like, you know, it's too extreme of a move to ever happen. That's where you end up losing your shirt, right? So anyway, so that's what I'm looking at here. I am paying attention now. This is the zone that we're in, and I would really love to. I'd love the closer we get to this target, the closer I am to longing a lot heavier. So I did long, but I didn't long a lot, right? It's just like I'm starting. So let's go take a look over at Ethereum now. And Ethereum, I mentioned before that I was looking for this spot here to actually break. Let me see here. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, this shifted. This should be right there. Okay, now I moved that down, and the question is, why did I know it was in the wrong spot? Because here is where this is flush right there, and this is the, the height, right? These are my measured points. These right here, these are all connected. This is connected. This is connected. I consider that manipulation and that manipulation because it's kind of an outlier, right, compared to all the rest of the stuff. So if you look at, what exactly happened to Ethereum, I was looking for it to kind of break this zone. I am looking for this down here to be hit, but I think that this red line will be hit when Bitcoin hits that other target. So I kind of daisy chain them together. So if we are seeing a bounce in Bitcoin now, then I would expect a bounce to happen as well on Ethereum. And again, kind of being that range that, this is the range over here. Notice it looks very similar, and if it does go, I would be looking for it to come back up to the top of the range. So that's what I'm looking for right now. But as far as everything else goes, I mean, like if you were buying spot, for example, I mean, if you bought now, let's say you bought now and it goes down, you're going to take a hit. If you don't sell, it's okay, right? But I would add on if we came down here, and I would almost, I would figure out something that works for your risk, but I would DCA in if we get any lower, right? But let's just pretend now that you missed this move. Let's say this does go down and you missed this move, but you only caught that one, for example. The only reason why it would matter now is because you're underwater if it went down that low. But if it shifts and it comes up to over here, for example, who cares where you bought down here? You're in profit. You could have got more profit, but I mean, that's being greedy, right? You got to be satisfied somewhere along the way. So this is what I mean by I play the zones, right? I do want to go take a look at some of the stuff that's going on in the rest of the world here. Let's go take a look over at oil. So here is oil. And again, I mentioned that I created this line as being the resistance area. That was the resistance, and look what it did. It hit it twice. So now, where could oil possibly go? I mean, well, first of all, it's filling in this gap that's missing, which again, I mentioned before that eventually it will fill the gap in, and it's filling it in now. But honestly, if you notice, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, and here's a point. So this was the previous range, right? So let's grab this real quick. Let's just kind of like draw a really kind of wild line here. So this was the previous range. We consider this manipulation because this is kind of the outlier of the trading, right? And if this was the last range, then I would expect it to come halfway in between the 50% zone right over here. And if it comes down to this 50% zone, I mean, you might long buy if you're interested in oil, you want to try to get it, then you can get it. If it comes down over here, this is probably a better buy for you. Now, will it go down that low? I have no idea. But I do know that the charts will eventually go back to where they came from. So you have to keep that in mind. If it's now, great. If it's 5 months from now, the plan still didn't change. Okay? So let's go take a look over at AMC real quick, and then I want to jump into some other things. So AMC, you could see we had this rejection at the top here, and what I said was that I sold all my position right here, and what I am looking for is I'm looking for it to come back around here. I'm looking for it to come right about there. When it gets back down there, if it gets back down there, that's when I'll buy again for AMC. Okay, right now there's a shift going on. There's some movies coming out. There's some things that are going on business-wise for it, and it might be driving the charts down to where it needs to go faster than necessary. But I do plan on getting back in this zone right over here, and you can see kind of the number on that side. The other thing is I am looking now at this idea of stocks shifting momentum due to the crypto market, maybe even, shifting into a bull market. And one of the things is SBET. Now, SBET is really attached to crypto, and I hope that you can see exactly what I see here. Let me pull this line just like so. And yeah, this is starting to look like a GameStop, AMC, Newegg kind of situation that I've pointed out time and time again. We've got a lot of liquidity that's built up here, that's building up right around here, you can see, and it needs to be taken out, right? These need to be taken out, but also there's a wick right here, there's a wick over here, and a wick over here. So if I were to connect these up top, just like so, I mean, this, I think, would be, if we get down lower down here, 100% I'm buying, solid buy. Right? So, but if you notice, I've got this box here. This is a zone. And I think if crypto does change direction, then I think, we can at least expect it to come back up to the $100 mark, right? That's what I'm expecting because of just the way these charts move. So it might be time to start stacking some sharp link in my brain. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about doing that. But also there's some other assets like Assist that are tied to crypto as well. Sophie, stuff like that. And you can see here's Sophie right here. It's starting to bounce on this trend line that I've got going on here. And yeah, it's starting to head towards the range high. So again, if crypto does take off and, the bull market starts to kick in, I think things like this can easily come back to the top and start to work its way up even higher. So again, I'm starting to pay attention to that stuff. And yeah, so anyway, as far as all the other crypto stuff that's going, I mean, everything else is looking the same as these stocks. I mean, you can click on any one of these from, XRP to any of the other ones. But the one that I'm mostly paying attention to right now is Tau. Tau seems to be moving, excuse me, it actually moves very close to Bitcoin. When Bitcoin goes down, obviously it goes down too, just like the rest of the market. But it seems to be an amplified version of the Bitcoin chart. And the Tau network seems to be growing. And yeah, I mean, if you could see, I mean, look, again, this is doing the same thing AMC did, Newegg did, GMC did. It's creating this area of liquidity that is building up in this area. And if now being we're kind of in the range low middle, of course we've got this wick that's down here. Any lower, I really think that we're going to come back to the top of this range, So I am looking at this as an investment. This chart is looking pretty good to me, honestly. And as we've been in the bear market, they've been developing pretty hardcore. So anyway, let me, this has been a long video, only because of everything that's going on. I want you to get an idea as to what I'm seeing. As far as the charts go at this point, I am in a long, and yeah, I am in some profit. And yeah, so I am looking for, again, I'm looking for it to kind of hug this part right over here. I want it to get above this number, which is around 60,000, I guess. But it needs to come and kind of create the bottom again, find some kind of support, and then work its way up. And then I think we're kind of in a little bit of more of a relief bounce for now. Anyway, guys, hope all is well. If you are finding this channel useful, please consider clicking the like button. I'm not really looking for anything more than that. And if you do have any questions or even want to comment, comment down below. I'm here. I'll answer your questions. And if you feel like sharing, share the link. The more the better. Talk to you soon. Thanks.